I'm doing a kind of tricky wire pull here, so I figured I could make a video and just share a few tips. So this is a VRF system, and I've got a bunch of indoor units all with their own thermostat. Well, this space was recently renovated, and where's the thermostat? Gone. Freaking drywallers covered it over. I tried tracing the wire. The floor plan has been changed, so I couldn't really go off of that. Anyways, I just pulled the wire out because there's a bunch of insulation in this wall as well. So it just ended up being better for me to start fresh. But I need to pull that wire down into there, which is actually pretty simple, except this is metal framing, and I've got a metal cross brace right here that goes across studs, which is pretty typical when you have a very high wall to hit a brace like that. So I'm going to go over some things on how to get through that. First tip is to know where your studs are. I like these magnetic stud finders. They obviously work good on metal studs, but on wood studs they work as well. You're just going to go around and find where the drywall screws are, and it'll stick to the drywall screws. So the first thing you want to know is where your studs are. Now I've got a hole right here that I've got a fish pole in right now, but I'm going to show how you go into a hole like that and drill something a few feet down. All right, by the way, old carpet squares work great for catching crud. So just put them underneath where you're working, and then to get through the drywall, I don't use a drill. It just creates a lot of mess. I just take a big punch and hammer it in there, and it creates a really nice hole. I mean, you can see I've got some crud around here, but a lot less than if I used a drill. So to go in that hole and curve down and drill that plate, which I'll show a picture of. I've got a long flexible drill bit, and I like the ones that aren't a fixed drill bit on here. They just have like a quick connect, so you can put anything on there. Now I needed a hole saw, and the shank is bigger than a 1/4 inch, so I just have this little chuck. I think it's 3/8, and then it's a 1/4 quick connect here. So that little setup works good for odd bits, but for going through wood, I just like a spade bit. I just put a spade bit in there. So that works really well. That would have been too hard to show filming because I was using both hands, and it's very, very tricky, especially going into metal, but I got through it okay. Now I'm gonna talk about some tips about using fish poles or fish tape. So I put a chain on the end of my fish tape and on the end of my fish poles, and I normally just go in the hole and try to figure out if I can. There, I think I just felt something. Now I've got insulation in here that I'm fighting, so that's going to be rough, but if I can get that chain, whew, it's hard to do with one hand. I'm gonna have to grab some needle nose, I think, and grab that chain. All right, so I've got my chain out, and you know, not only does the chain give you some flexibility so you don't have to try to get your fish pole into such a small hole at a sharp angle, you know, but it's magnetic, so you can reach in there with the magnet and grab it. Now I don't need to pull my fish pole through. I'm just gonna attach some string. We're gonna pull the string through and then use the string to pull the thermostat wire down. I found a damaged section of wire and cut it open. It's bad enough to where I don't just want to electrical tape it. I think I want to try to get some heat shrink on here and maybe remake these connections, solder them, because they're going to be behind a wall. So I'll do that and then show it. Here's my soldered connections, and I'm going to wrap each one with Super 33 and then put heat shrink over it. Slid all the way down there, but I'm gonna get the heat shrink on there, and that'll hold the tape tight. But the heat shrink is adhesive lined and really thick, so it's going to be honestly a better insulation than what's on here. There's the finished product, and in case it wasn't obvious, there's a connector on the end of this thermostat wire, so to get the heat shrink on, I needed to cut it, i.e. solder it. So I went ahead and just cut out that damaged section. All right, let's pull it through. This is the way I like to pull things like this through. So I tie a slip knot, and that'll go here. And then I will fold this down in that like that, and tape it down that way and that way. And you want to make your tape sort of make this pointed so that it can pass through your holes easily. So you can see how that's nice and streamlined and the connector is protected. Also, you end your wrap here because I'm pulling that way, okay? So that'll make it very, well, I won't say easy, it still gets stuck sometimes, but it's got a lot better chance of getting through your holes with no problem. We're through now, and it went really well. I did get caught on that plate, and I'm by myself, so the only thing that I do is, I had the string out here. You just take that string and create a bunch of vibrations just like that, and they'll go up in the wire and help wiggle it around so it gets off of that edge. And just pull it through. So wasn't bad at all. Probably 10-15 seconds I had it through. Let me show these fish poles and my fish tape so you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. So this is my short set. I like having the short ones for tight areas, and obviously I was using the long ones in that wall, but I put chains on them, and the way I do that is just to get a bolt that's the same thread and put that in there, and that holds the chain. That's just an extension. A hook, I don't really use that. And then I put strings on the pointed end because sometimes I need a chain, and then other times I just need to go in the wall and hook a string. Just depends on which one's easier. It depends on the situation. Again, put chains on the end and then strings on those. The strings really help because, again, it's difficult to get a fish tape through a really small hole. So all you've got to do is just get the string through, and I attach a chain to my fish tape. I put some string here. It makes it even more flexible right at the tip there, but that's really handy. Also makes it easy to take off. I've just got that looped like that so it can come right off. In some cases a chain can get caught, so you have to, each situation's a little different. You just have to figure out what's best.